Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal McDaniel, and this is The Naked Singer. Today, our topic is going to be about fear and anxiety. Fear and anxiety is a big thing for singers, and it's a big thing for us in general in just living our everyday lives. But singers spend a lot of time comparing themselves and getting criticized and having to change things on a constant basis and not knowing the emotional state of the person or people that they're working with. And so I know from personal experience that fear and anxiety is a huge deal in the theater community, in the singing community, in the performance community, all the way around. Also, in life in general, we get so many pressures in our lives to live a certain way or do a certain thing, or we've been brought up a certain way and we've had trauma and abuse. And it's just that fear and anxiety plays a prevalent part in our society today, and not many people really want to talk about their fear and their anxiety. We see articles all the time about it. There are medications for it. We see posts about it in social media. There are all kinds of things surrounding us, and yet nobody really wants to deal with their individual problems with mental health and fear and anxiety and the things that really get down and bother us. And so we're going to talk about that today. And we're going to talk about how to live with it every single day and continue to go forward and get all that you need to get done completed, and to feel good about yourself in the end of the day anyway. This is a subject that's near and dear to me. I have panic anxiety disorder, and I've got a lot of trauma and PTSD. And so I stay in therapy for that and have for quite a while. It's very helpful to me to constantly get those tools. I try to be very open about the fact that I go to therapy weekly, and that helps me to continue to move on and have that touchstone and know that I'm going to have tools and someone helping me to be able to keep moving forward and not look back on all the things that have happened before. I'm going to let you know something about fear and anxiety that you may or may not already know. Fear is about the past. So when we have the fear of something, normally it's about a past situation, and we're continuing to ruminate and turn the thoughts over and over and over about what's happening for us or has happened to us in the past. And we continue over and over and over again to relive that past thing. And what we're really trying to do is we're trying to somehow go over it so much that the past actually changes. So it's our attempt to change the outcome of the painful outcome of what has happened in the past. And therefore we develop a fear of that, and we live in that fear because we know that we felt very fearful and a lot of anxiety when the situation was going on, and a lot of trauma, and we were traumatized by that. And so we want that to change so that that pain eases down and goes away. And the fact is that's not going to occur. So when you're looking at the past and you feel fear about the past over a situation that traumatized you or that happened, there is nothing you can do to change the past. All you can do is forgive the past and really let it go and try to look through a different window with a different view. My voice teacher, Neil Seamer, one time said to me, Crystal, we understand that you have a lot of manure in your life, and it's a huge pile of it, and it's probably more than most people have had. But at the same time, you don't have, just because you have a pile of manure in your backyard doesn't mean you have to keep standing at that window staring at it. You can move away from the window and look out a window with a better view. And that started changing the way I think about my past and how I think about the things that have gone on and the trauma that has happened, so that I'm constantly trying to move myself, and I'm working to move myself to a different viewpoint and a different window. Now, when we're feeling anxiety, anxiety is about the future. We have anxiety about things that have not occurred yet. So because of the trauma of the past, we are projecting that on our future, and we keep comparing ourselves to other people or other situations that we have experienced. And so therefore we get this worked up anxiety about the future. Well, what I have really found is that there's only one time frame available to us. The past is gone. It's not going to change, and we can't get it back. The future hasn't happened yet. So all we have is now, in this moment, right now. Because in 10 minutes, guess what? It's going to be right now again. So no matter what happens in the future, as the future comes, sort of like a leaf flowing down a river. And if you're standing on the bridge and the leaf hasn't gotten to you yet, so that's the future. But when it hits the bridge and then it flows on by, that's the past. So you're the person standing on the bridge in the now. And you can't be concerned about that leaf getting to you because it hasn't happened yet. And you can't be concerned about what happens when it passes by because you can't change that. It's already gone. All you can do is deal with the moment that you're in. And that's the first thing that I learned that actually helps me with my anxiety, because in the moment that I'm in, I have all that I need. And I'm going to say that again. In the moment that I'm in right now, I have all that I need. Even if you're homeless on the street, right now, in the moment that you're in, you have all that you need. If you're closed and the weather is good, or whatever, you have all that you need. Now, if you're homeless, maybe you're hungry, but there is something that you can do about that. There are places that you can go to get food. There are places that you can go to get shelter. So, the needs of us as a people, we can make sure that we have our needs in the moment taken care of. And I think that is very important, because I know right now in this moment, I have air in my lungs. I have a roof over my head. I'm not hungry, and I have clothes. And that is all that I need in this moment. Our basic needs are taken care of. And when we realize that, there's no reason to go ahead and fret about something that's going to happen tomorrow because of the fact that you're not there yet. You need to stay right here in the moment and work very hard to enjoy and concentrate and focus on what is in front of you rather than what is ahead or behind, because those are the two triggers that usually keep you trapped in your head, when actually you can live in abundance in the moment that you are in right now. And there's nothing more that's really needed from you. You are enough right now in this very moment. So, if you are at an audition and you've had bad auditions in the past, because those of us who audition, we've all had bad audition moments in the past. I mean, the last audition that I did, I ended up finally singing really well and performing really well, but I have medical issues. And when I got out on the stage, the medical issue kicked in and I started having a severe vestibular migraine, and that vestibular migraine triggered convulsions. And I went through three tries of trying to sing while I looked like a fish out of water flopping on a deck. And it literally, I seriously was just flopping around as I was standing. And no matter what I did, it was interrupting everything. Did that feel embarrassing? Yes. Did that feel humiliating? Yes. Do I look back on it and go, OMG? Yes. But is it over? Yes. Is there anything I can do about it? No. All I can do is take care of me and address with my neurologist what went on and see what we can do about helping me past those things. And, I can't help that I have vestibular migraines. I can do everything I can to keep the triggers from happening. I can follow the right diet. I can exercise. I can rest when I need to rest, but I can't stop the actual condition. I don't have that type of power. So all I can do is keep myself in the moment and do the best I can in the moment. Would I prefer to not have convulsions? Yes. I would prefer not to have that happen. But since I don't know, and we're working on fixing the issue and finding out the underlying conditions and the underlying triggers of that, then all I can do is enjoy the now. And if that means I have to hang on with auditions for a while, then so be it. I'm not going to sit around and cry about that and fret about that, even though it was very embarrassing to have that happen in front of people and on the stage. On a good note, one of the performers that was coming on after me looked at me and said, "Wow, no matter what happened, you still did an amazing audition. Your voice is beautiful. Wow." And if I thought she was listening to this, I would say, thank you so much for saying that to me in that particular moment, because I hang on to that thought, because I was enough in that moment. It wasn't about the convulsion. It was about the fact that no matter what, I continued to stay in the game until I did a great audition, till I could get it under control and do a great audition. And because that happened, I did. Now, are they going to hire me? No, they didn't hire me. No, they didn't. And I don't know their reasons. I don't know that it was because that happened, and I don't know that it wasn't. So I'm not going to sit around and go, well, it was because I did that, because I don't know. I don't know that. And I'm not going to speculate about that. I'm going to be proud of myself that regardless, I pulled myself together and pulled in a good audition. And, then you let the chips fall where it may, but I can't sit around and look at the past and go, well, I probably shouldn't do anything anymore because look what happens when I do. I can't do that and give myself more fear and more anxiety, which isn't going to help the situation. All I can do is stay right here in this moment. It was disappointing, but I'm still standing. And that's what the message is that you can still stand and you can still do things regardless of what you're going through or what you feel at the time. It's like, feel the fear, feel the anxiety. They are emotions. They aren't you, but do the job anyway. You can continue on regardless. So, when you're thinking about having anxiety, most of the time our brain is running on and running on and running on, and we are thinking about all the scenarios that could happen if it doesn't go the way we want it to go. And we're trying to control the future that way. We're trying to make it already happen before we even get there. And that's not going to work either, because no matter what, the only thing that we can control is what is happening right now in front of us. We can't control others' decisions. I can't make a judge's panel or an audition panel in front of me, a director hire me, I can't do anything like that. You can't either. All you can do is the best preparation that you can possibly do and go and present the best you that you could possibly have. And then you have to walk away and to say, oh, well, this girl was wearing this dress and they liked that better and she did this and I should have done that. You know what? You made the decisions that you made in the moment, and your best ones you made are the ones you made in the moment. You can't make different decisions after the fact, and you can't change it. You've got to forget it and move on. You've got to just let it go. It isn't going to help you to continue to think over it and think over it and think over it. You need to start concentrating on the next thing that you want to accomplish. Even if that is going home and making your bed up and cleaning your bathroom. You've got other things to do in your life than to worry about that last audition or to think about the next one and how it might turn out the way the last one did. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. The last time I checked, I couldn't read minds. I can't tell the future, and neither can you. And when you're trying to deal with the future and you're trying to control the future by thinking about all these different scenarios, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? Then all you're doing is causing yourself more and more anxiety, and you're doing it to you. That's the one thing that I found out. I'm doing it to me. I am doing it to me, and I'm projecting what I think other people are going to think onto myself. When really I need to just settle down and deal with me here in the moment, because I can't go over there and I can't go over here. I can only stay right here in the moment that I'm in. And if I'm in a lesson, I need to be in the lesson learning, not worrying about what somebody might think or whether I'm going to get things right or whether I'm going to get things wrong or whether I'm making a mistake or whether I'm not making a mistake. I think everybody should go into a learning situation and mess up as much as possible, because that's the way we learn. We learn through our mistakes. And we need to celebrate mistakes, because if you don't make multiple mistakes in one day and ask yourself, what did I learn today? How did I mess up today? And celebrate that, then you really didn't accomplish anything. What if you went in and went, you know what? I had success after success after success after success. Yes, that's wonderful. Good for you. But the next day you might not. And you need to learn to celebrate what you learned and that you grew. I don't find myself growing in my successes. I find myself growing when things are harder. Like right now in doing this podcast, I have to do a lot of social media, and I'm having to learn and grow and learn and grow and learn and grow. And I don't know what's going to get anybody's attention, and I don't know what wording that is going to actually catch somebody's eye so that they care about my post. I just don't know. So I just keep learning and learning and learning, and I keep throwing stuff out there. And it's literally a whole lot like splatter painting. I try this, I try that, I try to see what works, I try to see what subject matters that people seem to be interested in. I try to keep things relevant, but the bottom line is I really don't have any control about what you guys like and what you don't like. All I can do is speak straight from my heart and tell you what works for me and tell you what I've studied and tell you what I've learned. And hopefully that will help you from jumping in the mud puddles that are coming up as you walk. Because one of the things that I want with the Naked Singer is to make sure that you learn something so that you have less mud puddles to walk through than I ever did. And that's something that I can do, because I surely can't control whether you listen or whether you like my posts, or, like the way I look today, or like my clothes, or, I can't control any of those things. And if I sit around and worry about it all the time, then I'm not going to do this podcast anymore. I'm going to get too discouraged. And sometimes I do get discouraged, because sometimes I go, is anybody even listening? But, I think I see that they are. So there's some things I want to give you, some things and some tools, because I always want you to have tools that you can work with and practice to help you, because I've had to practice tools and using my tools over and over and over again to help me with panic and anxiety disorder, and with the vestibular migraines and all the things that I go through, because I've had a giant amount of trauma and stress for most of my life. And so, practically since the day I was born, there was some sort of trauma and stress going on in my household. And I know that I have, read about others having something similar, and more people are talking about it. If you've read Viola Davis's Finding Me, then you know that she puts that out there, of a lot of the trauma and abuse that she went through living in a poor household with lots of trauma and abuse that went on, and having no money for food and no money for electricity and wet clothes and all kinds of things, and no one coming and asking to even intervene. It is just it is just amazing what the woman has lived through. And I didn't have quite the extreme circumstances she had, but I had a household that was very similar. And even though we always had electricity, we couldn't always have the things that we would have liked to have had, or actually even needed. And I remember my brother's tennis shoes being held together with tape, because we couldn't buy new shoes, things like that. I remember not being able to run air conditioning at all, and only having fans because we couldn't afford the air conditioning. I remember we had to open the oven, and we had to have extra heaters in the house because we couldn't turn the heat up high, and because that cost too much money. There's just so many things that I remember from my childhood about um, ways we had to live, and things that had to happen because we could not afford more. We had a lot of cars that broke down, and we would be stuck on the side of the road with car trouble, and not being able to get the car to crank, and it would be late. And there was just a whole lot that went on, and that stress rolled over into our household. And my mom and dad yelled at one another a lot. My dad called my mother names. There was just a whole lot that happened growing up, and so I always had that stress. And then there was more and more and more and more as life went along, and I got older. So I can tell you, over the past 22 years or so, I was working on my career, building the studio, going out and doing auditions, doing multiple shows, taking care of 3 children. I homeschooled them because when they were young, really young, they were in and out of the hospital, and they were sick, all 3. And then my mother got sick, and she was diagnosed with dementia, and she had to move with us. And I was her main caregiver. And so my family and I took care of my mother. And in the midst of this, I was auditioning and going through other family trauma that was going on during that time, not in my direct family, but from extended family. And that was just a lot that continued to go on and on and on. And I had so much anxiety and so much fear. And then my husband was a school teacher, which pretty much means that he didn't make enough money. And I mean, because if you're a school teacher, you don't make a lot of money and you don't get a lot of benefits and you don't get a lot of appreciation. And I know that you guys are hearing that a lot, especially now in the aftermath of COVID and all of that. We're hearing about so much stress that go on for our teachers. And my husband was one of them prior to COVID, several, like 4 or 5 years ago. And, the school system just doesn't take care of their teachers. And so it was hard for us to make a living and make ends meet. So I was having to work more and more and longer and take on more and more and more in order to make ends meet, and then go out and audition and try to do shows and try to help my children and take care of my mama. And it was just a tremendous amount of stress. Now, here's the thing. I still performed. I still went to the auditions. I still did the shows, even though I was feeling all of this fear and anxiety. So how did I do that? Well, sometimes I'm not sure, honestly. Sometimes I feel that maybe I was on autopilot and I just thought, I've got to go do this and make sure that I'm bringing in an income for my family. And so I just went and I did the job, even though I felt a tremendous amount of pressure and stress and anxiety. I went and did the job, and I've always tried to keep my mind on something positive, and I've always tried to look for the good in every situation, because one of my favorite scriptures is second Thessalonians. I think it's 5:17. I'm not positive at the moment because I'm not looking at it, but in that scripture it says, in everything give thanks. In all things give thanks. And that means in every situation that you're in, there is always something that you can look at and be thankful for and feel blessed for. And I think, I just kept saying, I have this opportunity to perform, and I love to sing and I love to perform. So I'm just going to take this opportunity to be grateful that I'm singing, and to be grateful that I'm performing, and to be grateful that I'm on the stage, and I be grateful that I have these fantastic costumes, and be grateful that I'm working with these really talented people. And whether I get along with anybody or whether I don't get along with anybody, I'm just going to be thankful that I can come in the backstage door and I can do my job, and I can go home and see my family, and that we're all safe, and that we have everything we need right now. And I just kept marching through and doing that job. And then I would go to the next one and do the job. And then I would go to the next one and do the job. And then my singers would come in to the studio, and I would just keep doing the job and keep helping them succeed. And I kept my mind on their success and helping them reach their goals, and, and listening to them and helping them continue to climb and become better. And some days were really easy for me to do that, and some days weren't. I just kept getting up and doing that again and again and again. Now, does that mean all the time it was easy? No. There were days that I wish I could just run away and never come back. There were days that I wanted the load of the pressure of everything off of me. But that's just not possible. It's not possible to just check out in life. I mean, you can do it, but what does that really accomplish? And how does that really help anybody else out there? Because if we can't prop one another up, then what are we here for? If we can't encourage one another, then what's the point? And I kept telling myself and sort of cheering myself on and encouraging myself, Crystal, you can do this. You can. You might not want to, but you can. You can get up. You can get dressed. You can teach those students. You can keep smiling and encouraging. You can keep laughing with them because they bring you joy and they want to learn. You can help your mother have her last days be blessed. You can continue to see the wonder in her eyes and in her mind when she doesn't remember something, but she sees something that she thinks is for the first time and it's beautiful. Sometimes she would do that with the moon or the sunset. It was like it was the first time she ever saw it because of the dementia. And she would go, oh, it's so beautiful. And we would smile because, wow, to experience somebody's first with them, even though it's not. So we just kept putting ourselves in those moments and keeping those moments precious and trying to continue to make every day a day that we knew could be the last. And we just kept going and kept going and kept going. It wasn't always easy. My husband and I had a lot of stress during that time, and we didn't agree on a lot of things. And and for so many times, I just felt like such a failure. Like, I'm never going to be where I want to be. I'm always going to be stuck. There were a lot of negative things that went on in my mind because I kept ruminating on the trauma. But when I look back on it now, I realize, you know what? I'm a champion and I'm proud of myself. I'm a real champion because no matter what, I walked through it and I'm here. And I survived. And I'm here on a podcast. I have a podcast now where I can talk about it. And I can tell you guys that no matter what you're going through, you can achieve and you can get through it and you can keep going and you can keep encouraging other people and you can keep looking for the good even when it's hard, even when you feel fear, even when you have anxiety, because what's inside of you has got to be bigger than the fear and the anxiety. It must be bigger. Your hope for love and joy and encouragement and to do something great in this world has got to be bigger than the fear and anxiety that you have. Because I've gone from being agoraphobic years ago and feeling that all of my failures, that people didn't like me because I had failed so miserably. And everything I wanted to live up to, I had just disappointed everybody and everybody knew it. So I wouldn't leave the house. And so I started setting these small little goals. Well, I'll just get my chair closer to the door. Well, I'll get my chair to go out on the front porch. And then the next thing it was like, oh, well, I'll walk to the end of the sidewalk here at my house. Well, I'll walk to the end of the driveway. Well, I'll walk up this far up the road until I finally went all the way down the road across the street to this gazebo at the university that I live near. And it has a rose garden, and I just wanted to be able to sit there. And the day I made it all the way there, I was like, then I can go further and I can go further. And, it wasn't true that everybody hated me. And it wasn't true that I was a big fat failure and that my life was over and I was never going to get where I wanted to get. None of that was true. And most of the stuff that we listen to in our heads is not true. It's just not true. It's what you decide that you want to say to yourself and what you decide that you want to listen to that actually matters. And I decide over and over again what I want to hear and what I want to feed myself with, which is what I said in a post earlier this week. We want to add, not subtract. We want to add good things to ourselves, things that nourish us rather than take away and keep denying ourselves. It's better to add the good than subtract the bad, because the bad will take care of itself if you keep adding good things that nourish you. And it is possible, and you may feel weird or stupid, it is possible to use affirmations to help you overcome these things, to help you get past your fear and anxiety. Your fear and anxiety is never going to go away. I still have panic anxiety disorder. I still feel anxiety. I have felt it multiple times this week. But I'm still doing this podcast. and I'm still walking forward and I'm still finding a way. And yeah, I want things to be better. I'm always wanting for something to be better. I am always looking to learn and I am always looking to improve. But I'm also learning to be happy with now because right now I have all I need. So I'm going to give you some tips and blah, blah. I'm going to give you some tips and some management ways to help. I'm going to say this all over again. I'm going to give you some ways to help manage your anxiety. There it is. I'm going to give you some ways that are helpful to manage your anxiety. So here we go. One of the first things I do is I write out my feelings. Here is my journal. I get these type of journals and I get them from Erin Condren, and I write in the journal all the time, and I write my feelings and my prayers in this journal. So I fill up journal after journal with how I feel, and I'm praying the entire time. So that's my prayer journal where I pour out everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, the celebrations, the praises, all of it. My whole life goes into the journal, and that helps me. Number 2, get off of social media for a day. Give yourself one day a week where you don't go on social media. You just give your brain a break, because social media is a big old comparison game. Sometimes this person has more followers than I do. How are they doing this? How are they doing that? Look how happy they are, blah, 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 blah. And it really just promotes a bunch of envy and coveting sometimes. And then we hear all the negative stuff that happens, and we get worked up about all of those things. So just give yourself a break and a day where you just go off of social media and you don't deal with it at all, so that you can do something that's healthier for yourself. So what would be helpful and healthier for yourself? What can you add if you're not going to go on social media? Well, you can go exercise and move your body. Getting those endorphins up, that helps us. It's the Elle Woods thing. Endorphins make us happy, and happy people don't kill people. They just don't. There you go, Elle Woods. So it's that type of thing to get the right chemicals running around in the brain, and endorphins always help. So get out there and get your body moving. Like I said, I focus on prayer in my prayer journal. So I'm writing it and I'm praying. And I'm breathing in and out when I'm doing that. And I'm concentrating on my connection with God and his connection with me when I'm doing that. So I'm really spending time with my heart and my breath, connecting with something that's bigger than me, someone who is bigger than me, God, who does have control over everything. And the next thing I do is I ask for help. I don't feel like that I have to do this on my own. So I ask for what I need. And sometimes I need help. So like this week, I called my best friend, Eugene Broncoviano, who you've seen on a past podcast. He was my podcast guest, the Tony Award winner. And I call him and say, hey, I need encouragement. I need you to encourage me. This is what I need. And Eugene and I talk about, and he encourages me and reminds me that I have overcome way more than I have failed. And that's what I want to tell you. You have overcome way more than you have failed. And you need to be proud of what you have accomplished. And you need to be proud of what you've survived. And you need to be proud that you're standing on the other side, still having the ability to enjoy life. Because life should be enjoyed. It shouldn't be dreaded. It should be enjoyed. That we're here to glorify God. We are here to be his light. And bringing light should be joyful. Really joyful. As singers, we should be making a joyful noise. If you're a singer, you need to sing, because again, That helps with anxiety and depression. If you're not a singer, sing anyway. Sing your favorite songs. Sing them loud. Sing them off tune. But sing, because it helps with anxiety and depression. And it lets off that steam valve, that pressure cooker. You need to be doing that. The last one, enjoy nature. Get connected into nature so you're away from social media and you're seeing beautiful plants and beautiful flowers. You're going on a nature walk, go on a hike, do something that helps you enjoy nature, because that's going to help your mind change as well. Go for a walk, go for a run, go canoeing, go camping. Do whatever it is that you enjoy doing, but do it out in nature. I'm about to take tennis lessons because I want to enjoy being outside. And that might not be a nature walk, but, hitting that tennis ball and being outside and getting my mind to focus on just something that helps me release tension and stress. That's a good thing. So that's something that I'm going to do. So, as we're tying this up, you need to comment and let me know on my Instagram at Naked Singer Blog. Also, we just set up at Naked Singer Blog on Facebook. We have a page on Facebook now, and you can comment on our Naked Singer Blog Facebook as to what you're going to do, what you're going to add to help yourself manage stress, anxiety, and fear, because it really is managing it. We aren't going to get rid of it, but we can manage it. We can lower it. We can do things that help us to celebrate ourselves rather than to put ourselves down and stay in this really dark, anxious, stressed out, fearful place. I'm never going to make it in my career. Nobody's ever going to hire me. None of that is true. I was going through the worst part of my life, the most stressful, anxiety-filled part of my life, and I was still hired. So it's not true. It's not true. You can keep going, and you need to celebrate yourself for accomplishing the things that you have accomplished. I think it's a wonderful thing to think about the fact that I might do things different and I might think things differently. But at the exact same time, I'm going to celebrate the fact that I can still love people and still show kindness. And I still want the best for everybody around me after all I have been through. I could be bitter. I could be resentful. I could be hateful. But I still want to bring light. And I think for me, that is something that is awesome, that I'm still trying to figure out how to do good in the face of diversity. That's how we win at life. That's how we win in the moment. If in the moment you can still love and think, you know what? I would not hurt you the way you hurt me. I want to love you. And I want love for you, even when you're traumatized, even when you feel broken. You're not, but you feel it. Even in those moments, if you can still love and want to be kind to people, you are the victor. And you need to keep walking that out. All right, that's what I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast as much as I did telling you the things and talking with you today. Remember, the podcast drops every single Monday, so this one will come out tomorrow. Remember, you can find me at Naked Singer Blog on Instagram, at Naked Singer Blog on Facebook, and at The Naked Singer on TikTok. Make sure you comment, follow, and share and tag a friend for this podcast. We're getting really close to 300 downloads and we're still climbing. I'm trying to push to that first 1,000. I know it's going to happen soon. I know it. I know it. I know it. I love you all. Also, comment and let me know if there's a subject matter that you would like me to talk about, because I'm here for you to help encourage you in your life. Okay. As always, I'm Crystal McDaniel, and this is The Naked Singer.